It's very difficult to focus on just one aspect that makes the newest installation of the God of War franchise so great. As we said in our review, it doesn't only revolutionize the God of War franchise, it sets a standard for gaming as a whole. The thing it changes most about how games should present themselves in the future is its focus on story and character development, which is not something you would expect to be done by Kratos, the man who only spoke to tell someone he was gonna murder them. Giving Kratos a counterpart is such a strong incentive for his character development, and his counterpart isn't just some random person or another god that he vaguely knows. The Ghost of Sparta is paired up with his own son. Having issues with his father and regretting most of his actions from the previous games, Kratos is in a rather strange position. He must teach his son how to be a warrior and how to survive in the kinds of environments that they'll journey through. His son Atreus is the exact opposite of his father. He is young, full of curiosity, and wishes to help those around him, even if it means personal sacrifice. This isn't a dynamic that's relatively new. We've all had parents we disagree with, but this dynamic is the underlying theme that causes Kratos to think about all of his actions throughout the course of the game. In every moment, as a father, Kratos has to think about how his actions will affect Atreus, and the easiest signal for this is pretty early on when Atreus takes the shot at the deer without permission. Kratos becomes aggressive, but holds himself back to teach a boy a lesson instead of downright punishing him. Although there are a lot of great story-driven games out there, smaller things like this don't often show up. God of War creates situations where at times Kratos and Atreus feel like they're one another's antagonists, instead of them both being the protagonists. At any point in the game, with almost every interaction that causes the characters to be at odds, it feels nearly impossible to disagree with either of them. You could split them up to represent different generations that humankind have gone through. Kratos comes from a primarily male-dominant society. He led the great armies of Greece and represents our ancestors, whose main goal was survival. Everything Kratos does, he does with the intention of bettering himself and ensuring their goals will be achieved. The only emotions that play a part of his character are love and fear. He loves his son, he loves Faye, the mother of his son, and wishes to grant her final request of spreading her ashes. Kratos fears failing his goals, losing the respect of his son, and downright losing him altogether. He realizes these fears twice throughout the story, and he speaks the truth to Atreus, shedding light on the darkness that is his past and letting the boy know who he truly is. Atreus, on the other hand, represents people closer to our point in time. He was raised by his mother, given plenty of love and care, but can't handle when he loses her, as to be expected. This is shown when we hear his voiceover when Kratos has the vision and the beam of light. Atreus wishes that Kratos had died instead of his mother because Kratos is never around and looks down on his son. It's safe to say that most people from our generation, the millennials, constantly want to feel important, whether that's by fame or by people being appreciative of them. And Atreus shows the latter of the two. We constantly see him wanting to do what's right by everyone else, and rarely focuses on how it will benefit him. This appreciation and knowing that he did the right thing is what drives Atreus to be at odds with his father. The two want to achieve the same goal, but are fully aware that they don't mix well. The character development is slow, which it needs to be. The game takes roughly 15 to 20 hours to complete, and it's in no rush to get the two where they need to go. It's a slow trickle, pitting the two against each other often, and at times where they have moments of honesty, like when Atreus asks to hear stories and shows interest in learning life lessons, Kratos struggles to get the point across clearly, stopping the two from having a complete moment together. Even the first time Kratos is honest with Atreus about who he is, the lesson is thrown aside because the fact of being a god almost corrupts his son. Now the dynamic is shaken up. Kratos is no longer dealing with the same boy he has for the last 8 hours. But now he has a son that is willing to do the wrong thing on purpose because he feels he can. This causes Kratos to reel his Kratosness back a bit and really think about how his words and actions as a god will change the course of Atreus' life. I can go on for a really long time about how the game shifts character expectations, shatters their relationship, and slowly rebuilds it, but the point that I'm trying to get across is that God of War understands who their characters are and what their goals and intentions will be. There is not a moment in dialogue nor the game as a whole that is wasted. Every moment shapes the characters into who they need to be for the story to work, and this is something that more games need to focus on. We have situations like the Far Cry games or the Tomb Raider reboot, where the main character goes from just a normal person and then is suddenly okay with killing a bunch of people. We see the first time Atreus kills an animal, taking a look at the struggle he has initially, but we also see the slow confidence he builds over the course of the game. Even in combat there's character development. Atreus will fight more and more aggressive the farther the story goes on. If there's one thing the game brings to the table besides amazing graphics and solid gameplay, it's that God of War knows what it is and where it wants to go. It does not waste a single moment. Every interaction between characters is utilized incredibly, pushing their stories along to create a well-executed narrative. And this is what sets God of War apart from most games.